because Europeans have understood during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, if you rely on one single country for energy, you might have some troubles. Even this country is the most innocent, sweetest country in the world. For me, the magic word in the energy policy is diversification. So many countries are now looking, can we diversify manufacturing from one country to many other countries? And in my view, Turkey has a good chance on certain technologies. For example, wind turbines. Because Turkey has a lot of experience in terms of the car manufacturing. And car manufacturing and the wind turbine manufacturing, they have a lot of affinities there. Or one can choose other things, because many of the neighbors around Turkey has huge potential of solar, wind, and other clean energy technologies. And building a manufacturing base in Turkey would be a great opportunity in my view. So, to finish, no country is an energy island. Turkey is definitely not an energy island. We are in the between different continents, different countries, and when we look at today the energy world, it is a must that Turkey reads the game of clean energy transition in the right way, takes the economic and energy policies in time to be a winner from this game, and at the same time be a good citizen of the world, nations. And I think Turkey and Turkish people deserve this. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Biraz ses
Ben onun konuda şu an sizi rahatsız ediyor.
biraz aşağıda olsa daha iyi sanki.
Biraz daha aşağıda mı? Şimdi
Öbür türlü gözümün önüne giriyor.
siz dediğim gibi üzerinden bir şey olursa mikrofonu kapatabilirsiniz.
Ceketin içine mi geçirsen?
Çok ses geldi İlcan Bey. Diğer şeyden geliyor. Yani sizi
Yeşil ışık yanıyor.
distinguished guest, now our next side event will be starting.
So. Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Very quick introduction about myself. I'm Armando Guastella, Italian, but also very well committed with Turkey. I'm a partner of Bain & Company and focusing on sustainability. Today, we are going to talk about redesigning the mobility system in a sustainable mobility system way. And to do so, I think it's an honor and a pleasure to have here with us nothing less than the CEO of TOG, Gurjan Karakash.
It was worth trying it. Evet, a very good afternoon, good evening, merhaba to everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here at COP28 and here a warm thanks, heartfelt thanks to our ministers hosting us here. So we as TOG are the new kid on the block if it comes to mobility. And of course, the 5.5 years we have been working in was already dominated with the statement right from day one, we are there to build more than a car. So, and this journey of more than a car is now became reality, one after another, step by step, and this is actually what is the presentation today is about. So first of all, I'm going to tell something about ourselves, then where we are right now standing, and on the other side, of course, the context to sustainability and also our contribution to that. So let me start with the first, again, definition or the visionary targets, the basic two targets of TOG. The first one is we are there to develop a globally competitive technology brand. And this globally competitive technology brand has, as the logo implies, the task and the ambition to bring two worlds together, the Eastern culture and the Western culture. So we do explain this like this. If we turn our face to the East, we understand the Eastern culture. What is that? It's basically the hospitality, the welcoming culture, the flexibility. And on the other side, if we turn our face to the West, it is maybe resulting from the industrialization, planning, organizing, and execution discipline. So on the other side, if you look to the state-of-the-art new technology companies, they manage to bring them all together. So if you look to the new technology companies, this is the case because either the founder or the co-founder or the managers are for long years Asians. So this is what we call duality. So living the two worlds on one side, and on the other side, of course, the technology company cannot limit itself with something or with a product. And therefore, we say with energized from the duality, we are enriching the lives in every living space we are confronting our users. So on the other side, it's already very well known to everyone in the market, you cannot do it yourself. So you need business partners, you need alliances. And this is what we call, we do it together. The days of big companies of, I don't know, 150 years long, successful in this field, it's really over because the size in that sense doesn't matter anymore. The agility and the collaboration speed is what is making the differentiation. And of course, on the other side, if you find a way to be a user-centric company, you always find a way to find something beyond the expected. So the entire DNA is supported by what we call an overarching supportive element, which is the impact, which is the sustainability. So we are, together with our shareholders, fighting for sustainability because we have the unique opportunity with a zero-emission vehicle to design our ecosystem in such a way that we are right from day one with a plan on the way to have a true zero target. So the second target is for us, it's not about, remember, about a car, it's about the ecosystem. It's more than a car. And this ecosystem we are building in 3 business verticals. The first business vertical is what we call the smart mobility devices. Today we have our T10X as the first product. The second business vertical is the digital experience platform. This is the TrueMore, the application, the platform, digital platform we are having. And this is, for example, where we have been selling so far and getting the pre-orders via that platform. The last one, last but not least, is the clean energy solutions. Again, right from the beginning, we are manufacturing, we are having our own batteries, we are right from the beginning having our own ultra-fast charging network in the entire Turkey. Later we will see how fast and how far we have come so far. And again, putting this everything around an ecosystem built for users, with the users together, is the key. So now 5.5 years passed. Where are we standing? So meanwhile, we are more than, I think I better stay here. So we are more than 3,600 people. And as you can see as well, so we have 26% female employees. 36% of our employees are master's, PhD, associate professor and higher. So in Turkish we say all okumuş çocuklar and educated ones, and the seniority is about 10.5 years. So, and this 10.5 years is very important because if on one side we need the experience of the people, on the other side we need the innovation speed and the creativity of the people. So this is a important balance. On the right side you see that we have meanwhile 5 companies. It's TOC, it's Cyro, it's the battery joint venture, it's Trugo, the ultra-fast charging, it's TOC Europe, since May 21 in Stuttgart, and it's TrueTech since beginning of the year in Ankara. Within the top 80 we have our technology development center. Means we already had a plan right from the beginning how to build up the big puzzle piece of the ecosystem. So let me continue here with the status. Of course, I always say 5.5 years ago, TOC used to be a PowerPoint company, 170 pages. So, and the task was to execute them one after another in all those 3 business fields at the same time. So we were working and walking and talking as if we were up and running for 5 years and doing our business on one side, and on the other side, we were having, of course, sometimes prioritization and decision difficulties, and through zero approach and user centricity helped us to prioritize. So this is the message. Let's have a look to the first vertical. I mean, the Turkish colleagues, they already know, and that was one of the highlights for us from our perspective in March, as we have been pre-selling or starting the pre-selling activities and having reached 177,000 pre-sales orders, pre-orders. So this is something which was honestly also we were not expecting. So it is more than what we have been producing in 8 years' time as a production capacity. On the other side, it's a confirmation for everyone. Turkey is ready for electrification. Turkey is in the really welcoming phase of new technology. This we know also from other technology cases. So same with the electrification. And on the other side, yes, the smart device, you know, we don't call it a car, is designed for European standards, is having the state-of-the-art mileages and safety security regulations, having the state-of-the-art charging speeds. Having said this, there is something which is unique to us because this is not yet available with the European manufacturers. And this is our, what we call the electronic zonal architecture. So we have a side-to-side screen in the smart device. And that side-to-side screen is, as you can see here, combining and allowing you what you have been doing in your living rooms, in your offices, in your living spaces, to do the same in the smart device. So you can shop, you can watch a movie, you can do whatever you want, and this is therefore only possible if you have not only the screen, but the relevant computer behind. This infotainment domain control computer, what we call, has been designed by our own team, has been the prototype by our own team, has been industrialized in Turkey together with one of our shareholders, and therefore this is something what we can right now offer, and we don't have any similar applications in Europe. Maybe Gemlik, so more than a car needs to come from more than a factory, so we call it the technology campus, is one of the cleanest or the cleanest for us in Europe from the emission side. On the other side, our energy consumption there is even today 30% from our own investments with the renewable energy from the sun is going to increase to 50%, and at the end 100% is our target which we are progressing on. So then let me move to the second one. I don't know why it is not progressing. Let me check. Yes. Again, this point is something which is not existing with any of the other OEMs. And this is the combination of having a smart device together within an ecosystem, or building the ecosystem around the smart device. And this simply comes from the user centricity. We have been, at the beginning of the project, to one of the design thinking companies, or actually design thinking company #1, based in San Francisco. We have been to them and said, hey, we would like to map the entire user journey. We would like to put all the scenario from the ideation we have as a user experience scenario. And we worked with them for 2.5 years. At the end, to make the long story short, we had 350 use case scenarios together with them. We went to the potential users, observed them, made user research, and understood 40 of those user experience scenario is, from their perspective, having a novelty degree high. Novelty degree high means I'm willing to use it. Not necessarily I'm willing to buy it, I'm willing to use it. So we checked also the willingness to pay. So then we went to the execution phase. You remember, the ideation is one thing, the execution is the other thing. So as we went to the execution phase, we understood we need technologies like fintech, insurtech, gamification, blockchain, or actually smart contracting, every sort of artificial intelligence, every derivative of cybersecurity, and none of them is available in the automotive industry. So therefore, it is useless to go to the automotive industry to understand how to do. So therefore, we went to startups. Startups have it. So we scanned more than 1,000 startups, and with the POCs and industrialization cases. So right now we have close to 30 onboarded startups. Some 20 or more will follow in the upcoming months. So what we do is we are building an ecosystem together with them. We are reinforcing this ecosystem with corporate companies like Turkish Airlines. You may ask, hey, what do they do there? So for example, we do earn soon miles, status miles, not bonus miles, status miles. You can earn your elite card while driving a T10X. Yeah. So the question is, of course, yeah, we said also the same. Said, what is that? Is that possible? And the answer was, nobody asked this question before. You know, I mean, miles is even measured on the ground. Yeah, as the name says, it's miles. So why do you need to fly? So these are things. So if we give you the opportunity to earn miles, if you later combine it with, for example, if you shop with Migros and have collect your points or whatever money sorts kind of thing. And then with the digital smart contracting converted into a token, with that token, let's assume the name of the token is token, yeah, with that token, you can go and charge, for example, or continue shopping. So this is the basic idea of putting an ecosystem into a working environment. So this is where we are working on. And the third vertical, arkadaşlar, is about energy. We know already from the beginning of the project, 70% and more of the entire bill of material will be battery, will be software. So battery and software. And therefore, we focused on a zero emission platform. We formed a joint venture with one of the key technology leaders in the battery world. It's a 50-50 joint venture. The company is named Syro. Syro stands for Silk Road. So it already gives the ambition, it's more than Turkey. It's responsible for 120 countries. And those 120 countries need not only for mobility battery storage, they need for energy storage solutions. So sun is there, you cannot store if you don't have a storage solution. Wind is there, in order to store it, you need an energy storage solution. So this is where we are right now preparing ourselves. Today, Syro is supplying our batteries only. And the day after tomorrow, soon, we are going to have that in place. Trugo, I already mentioned, is our ultra-fast charging network. In every single city in Turkey, we are present. So we made a very simple calculation. We took Turkey's map and said, so where the traffic is very intense, we need to be in every 25 square meters. Where the traffic is not that intense, every 50 square meters is enough. Then we distributed them. So and then some hundreds were left and said, look, all the junction points where more traffic is, we put some more. So this is the idea, and this is the way how we are distributing this, very rational and analytic. So we started with 180 kilowatt and 300 kilowatt chargers, which is really the ultra fast one. I mean, in Turkey, before we came, everybody was talking about if they had 40 kilowatts or 60 kilowatts chargers, about fast charging. If your battery is 88 kilowatts, like ours, it takes you hours and hours until you charge it. So, and therefore, none of us is willing to wait. And maybe this is also one of the question marks we may have, because what happens after 8 years after the warranty life of the battery? So you can use it as a second life to store energy again, or you do in the circular economy, gain the minerals and materials and recycle it and continue working on that. So now the true zero context for us. Oops, this was too fast. So look at this. Remember the DNA of our brand, where we were fighting for sustainability. This comes and is ideated from our shareholders' support to this topic. They are giving us a huge support, because if we are investing into something which is much more than the requirement of what the country and what Europe needs, means at the end we are investing more than what we could. But this is good because we are investing for the sustainability. Therefore, if you look to our achievements already, not only the cleanest plant, not only the cleanest platform, not only the renewable energy infrastructure we are building up one after another. Meanwhile, we are working with the cafeteria of our plant, of our campus, on animal welfare. So we are having their food for 3,000 people roughly per day, and there are some leftovers. And what we do with that is we turn them into, what is mama? Food, animal food, yeah? So we convert them into animal food and use it also so that they are not thrown away. So having said this, yeah, you see here, there is a very clear ambition, 2035, and there is not a typo. This is 2035, what we call scope 3, so including upstream, downstream, everything. So, and we have, from our vision, strategy map, derived our strategy, the strategic actions, and are deploying that. So now the question is always, what do we need and what do you have as well. So what we first need is, in order to prove that we are tracking it, in order to prove that we are doing it, in order to prove that somebody else, a third party, says, oh, this is okay, this is correct, we need to digitize all the data, yeah, about carbon footprint, for example. Then we have to use IoTs, Internet of Things and Services, the connectivity and sensors, and etc. And we have to use it on a traceable manner, on a trustworthy manner, and in a transparent manner. And the way is blockchain. So if we manage to write it on a blockchain, we comply with all of them. So right now, this is the case. So we are able to have a Web3 wallet where you can have all your digital assets, where we can store what we call a digital passport. So the entire health of the and carbon footprint of the smart device. And we can do it also in the upstream and also in the downstream. Many companies today focus more on the upstream side, because you can go to your suppliers and say, do this, do this, do this. For the downstream side, you have to do it by yourself. You have to be willing and volunteering to do something. And this is what we are doing. I want to give you some examples of what can be done. So first of all, let's assume you start with TrueMore on the app, configuring your device. While the configuration, you already decide on the carbon footprint with your selections. So means you already have, in the very first instance, a carbon footprint of the device. Then we support each other with renewable energy charging, with TrueMore. We help each other to change our habits to have more, or not more, less carbon footprint and a more suitable environmental approach in our lives. We can change our driving habits so that you do not need to rush everywhere with 180 and 70, so we can help to incentivize. It's a kind of a gamification, if you want it. So at the end, this carbon footprint is incentivized and for all of us put into a value, monetized in quotation marks value, and this monetization can simply be in terms of a carbon bank, in terms of tokenization, and in terms of a digital value our users can make use of. So, and this is the entire story of the mobility ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurjan. Thank you very much. So, I mean, it's really exciting to see all these things, because the automotive and mobility sector is a sector that has been for years, let's say, waiting for new moves and new strategies, and seeing all these things together is absolutely exciting. And allow me to mention a couple of points just before jumping to the questions. We can see it meanwhile.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, over these days, you have probably heard so much about the global warming, the overshoot days, so I'm not reiterating the message that there is a urgent need to move very fast. I want to mention something about the transport sector, because as you know, transport account for 15% of the total global emission. 70% of these are for road, and 60% of these are for cars. And this is explaining how urgent it is and how strategic is the transport sector to deliver over the journey. However, as we have seen, OEMs are really lagging behind, and the electrification using EV cars or smart devices, as we are talking about TOG, is going to be crucial. Why I'm mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because another interesting point we actually observed during our study as being company is that in the last 5 years, CEOs got a lot of trust from the public in terms of delivering over sustainability targets. And definitely this is something crucial and important, but it's also a responsibility. And why is a responsibility? Because actually, when we ask to them if they are fine with their commitment, they say, yes, we are absolutely fine. We are convinced about the commitment we did. However, if we ask to them, are you on track in delivering over these commitments? They say 50% of them, they say no. And the rationale behind this is pretty clear, because especially on certain kind of emissions like Scope 3, all of them are lagging behind. All of them are setting targets, setting commitments without even having a strategy. So, to cut it very short, I think there is a general consensus nowadays that there are three things where we have to do more and we have to deliver more. Of course, regulation, and this is one topic. Then technology. There is a forecast that $4.6 trillion will be invested in new technologies by 2030. And finally, about the behavior, because 40 or even 60% of our behavior is actually, we can actually cut emissions just changing our behavior. And I would go with the first question for you, Burjan, given that the entire creation of TOG has been built in an ecosystem of people and around the people, so with the customer centricity in mind. What do you think in terms of changing of the user habits, the user priorities, and how these changing are creating a new market, so how the market is evolving? And second, you partially already explained how TOG is planning to capture this as an opportunity.
And Amanda, I think the very first thing as leaders of the company, what we need to really understand and implement is responsibility is not only for commitments. Responsibility is also for executing it. So walking the talks. And what we see in the industry and also in other examples is if it's about making commitments for 10 years and beyond, we are all there. So after a few years, if you look, hey, how many of that did you really invest, execute, and where are you? So you are really not far. So and we understood our role and our responsibility being a customer-centric, user-centric company in the fact that if we couple our direct success, our services, our products to the users, if we are believing that user value is making us successful the next years, then one of those user values is creating a sustainable environment for all of us where we are all happy in what we are doing with our habits and what we are creating or implementing in the, not only in the society, also in the environment. So having said this, yeah, so then we'll start thinking of, is there a way to change the habits of all of us, including myself? So, do I need to drive like this? Do I have to stop in every, I don't know, 20 minutes and do that and do this? This, as I tried to explain or mention, our consumer behavior, our driving behavior is also key in what we are doing. And this can be shaped. We can do it all together. So this is not only, of course, his own tasks. It can't be. We know that we are, in quotation marks, the drop in the ocean. On the other side, if we can create the awareness, if we can create the interest from the user perspective, that there is a technical solution, like you say, and there is a way to add value. And if this is being pulled, and if this is being motivating many others, that will be more sustainable.
Absolutely, and what you mentioned is absolutely important in terms of educating the customers, no, or supporting the customers in contributing to the transition. In most of the cases, the customers are definitely willing to help, are willing to contribute. However, they don't know how to do it. So the role of being an educator of the ecosystem with the customers, but not only with the customers, is definitely relevant. Arriving to the role of the ecosystem, we anticipated before about the importance of Scope 3 and especially Scope 3 upstream. On average, sector by sector, Scope 3 can be between 60 even to 90% of the total emissions. And Scope 3 upstream is actually the big chunk. However, as we anticipated before, 60% of the companies that set a commitment on Scope 3 upstream, they don't even have a strategy on delivering over this ambition. So it's not about failing to achieve the target. It's about not having neither the plan to do it. In this sense, so I've seen the Truth Zero Journey, which is a fantastic title and name for the journey you are taking. Can you tell us more about that and how you are planning to approach in terms of Scope 3 upstream decarbonization?
Maybe through something brand architecture, we wanted to find a name for our digital experience platform, and that should give or imply the fact that it is more than a car, so truly more than a car. And then we ended up with True More. We were looking for charging infrastructure company's name, which was seamless in going through from one end to the other of Turkey. So we ended up with TrueGo, and we liked it at the end. So True is truly true. It has also the word TR for Turkey, and on the other side, True Zero is also a challenge to not only to ourselves, also to the competition in the market, and is a positive message to our potential users, because if we simply call it a carbon net zero target or carbon zero target, it's something else than if you say, hey, this is a truly zero target. So how we come to that? I think that was your question, right? So as we started setting our vision for the 2000 and in September and October 2008, starting with our brand DNA works. So we ended up with the fact that every single activity in the company, if it is not adding value to the user, is waste. Not only waste of time, it's also waste of resources. So that brought us again to the fact that the user centricity is key. So then we went into the mega trends. Then we went into the expectation of our users. Then we went into the point where they have been amazed. They were not expecting what was beyond their things. And we saw very clearly sustainability, social responsibility, corporate governance topics are important. So they are so important to our users that they are expecting. They are maybe not demanding on that sense. They are expecting, because they start demanding something. After there is a solution, it takes 10 years, 15 years until the society digests and uses it. And it takes another 10 years until everybody is using it. So therefore, we saw that something which might be with the DNA of talk, with the DNA of our brand, already benefit for mutual sides, for the user and for talk, for the long term. So we started setting our strategy map. We started setting up our strategy actions. We went into the ESG, whatever is necessary from a very professional perspective of working out an ESG activity plan. So this is how we have been putting it into, not only into a paper. We were sitting with our business partners, so other companies call it suppliers, so with our business partners, talking to them. We are selecting them as one of the selection criteria. Even if we are talking to startups for our ecosystem, we are talking to understand their approach to the sustainability, to the ESG. So if they are somehow lacking there, we try to understand if they can cover it. If they are not in those spaces or roles, we stop working with them. So that's simple, because we cannot afford one single chain in the entire system which is not complying with our strategy, ESG strategy. And this is how we are conceptualizing, planning, executing, and reviewing the progress.
Pretty clear, and sounds a very structured approach to solve the issue. And I really believe that plans are done to be changed, no? But if you have a plan, at least you understand where is the issue and you can put the effort on the right things. So considering what we just said, that 60% of the companies doesn't have a scope 3 upstream strategy, I think this is an outstanding step ahead. But here I would like to ask you something very important, no? Because TOG is going through a fantastic journey, And of course, growing the company and growing the capabilities of the company would be already difficult, no, by default. In the case of sustainability, is actually sometimes building capabilities that didn't exist in the market before. So, regarding to this point, on top of the role of technology, as we already said, that will be crucial in order to reach the net zero, what is the role of technology and innovation also in terms of acquiring capabilities that sometimes are not your capabilities but are capabilities of the ecosystem? How TOG is preparing for this?
Armando, you might be surprised with the answer regarding the capabilities. You know, we are born into this thing. Yeah? We are born digital, we are born sustainable, we are born green, we are born agile. So, by the way, we still do not have an organization chart. So, you said there are plans and they are always deviating. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. The problem is not that plans are changing in most of the cases in the industry. The problem is if you cannot manage the deviation. So, in order to manage the deviation, you need to be agile. You need to understand why that deviation came. You need to understand, therefore, the users, what they are needing and lacking probably. So, and this is one approach. On the other side, if you're talking about the capabilities of our competitors, we are really in a lucky position. Just assume 100 years, 125 years old established OEM. They have to transform first. And that requires a lot of energy. That requires a lot of transformation projects. So, and that's why they are late. That's why they are probably also not successful. Yeah? So at least one of the reasons. And on the other side, in our case, we have our clear vision, our clear picture, our clear strategy, our clear ambition, and in materializing this, again, in the entire organization, this is not subjected to a project topic. So this needs to be lived in the entire organization, starting with the management, leadership, starting with the shareholders, as it is the case in our shareholding structure. So this is something which is living and getting cultivated collectively. And this is where the real capability, the real speed is lying.
And related to this point, about the role of technology and the need of investing more in technology, of course, one of the main role will be played by carbon markets, which basically is not simply to pay a carbon tax, but especially with voluntary carbon markets, to understand how to invest and to track that there are actually results in terms of technology development. How do you see for TOG? Because I've seen how you are addressing this on the customer side. How you think voluntary carbon markets and carbon markets in general can be developed by TOG in order to go in this direction?
Okay. So can I come back to this? Because
sure.
I realized the second portion of your question I didn't answer regarding innovation and technology, right?
Please.
So, no, in most of the cases, it's not lacking because the technology is not there. Yeah? In almost 99% of the cases, there's a technological solution. So that technological solution might be either not applicable to the rest of the system in a 125 years old company, or might not be understood with the available system. And on the other side, the newer ones, let's assume as previously presented, fintech, insurtech, gamification, blockchain, they're only with startups. So your business partners, the innovation that it comes from is completely somewhere else. If I'm not wrong, don't really shoot on me because of the order of magnitude. But I remember is I read some 2 years ago a report survey where the corporate companies were accounting for 75-80% of the innovation in the world, and in 10-15 years time that's supposed to change completely upside down, that 70-80% of the innovation would come from the startups. So that already gives a completely different approach how you work with a startup. Yeah? If you are a giant, you cannot work with a startup. Impossible. Because you cannot be on the same eye level, you cannot talk to them, So they come with 2 people into the meeting, you go with 18 people to the meeting, and they are really ironed, yeah, pressurized. So, and this is how the technology and the technology solutions from our perspective are cultivated in the ecosystem with the startups. This is a crucial part of the thing. So now coming back to the regulatory
The
environment.
voluntary carbon markets part, etc.
No, I'm looking deep into the eyes of Ebru. She's not in the banking business anymore. And you know, they are all nice. Yeah, they all want to do the green deals. Yeah, they all want to support you. And then you go and talk to them. They all say, hey, it's good what you're doing. It's perfect. So, okay, let's do a green deal. You know what happens? Not Ebru. But they come back with KPIs, with requests, which are from deep and deep brown industry KPIs. Yeah, so something is not fitting there. Something is not fitting. So either the willingness or the motivation or the drive. So having said this, so where can regulatory bodies help us? My personal opinion, for example, they can help us to standardize how we measure it, to standardize where we store it, the data. They can help us standardize how we put a value to that. Yeah? Today, everything is somewhere jinky-finky and somewhere in the clouds. So everybody tries to find its own solution. Our own solution is we write it onto a blockchain, we write it onto an NFT. If you have the consent, we follow you during your downstream, the entire life and living spaces, and we can help you if there is one day a bank saying, hey, Armando is so cute and so green, so I want to give him additional credit with some benefits. So, and this is, I think, the way how it can be more and more cultivated and supported.
It sounds like an end-to-end way to calculate emission and to link emission in the production versus the customers, covering the entire life cycle, and definitely is very, very interesting. Okay, I think we cover more or less the topic, and I hope it was interesting. But maybe there is, I don't know if there is any question.
Thank you so much for your fruitful presentation. It was really a visionary. And this is Mahmoud from Schneider Electric. My question, you defined the talk more than a car. And is it possible to define also like a mobile energy source? I mean, mainly we are using these cars during the day and we are parking early in the evening, actually just before the energy demand making a peak. Is it possible to use these millions of batteries as a balancing of the peak management of the demand? And what do you think on this topic? Is it possible? Do you have any plan to resolve also this problem?
Yep. We simulated the peak energy loss of Turkey by the year of 2030 if there are 2.5 million vehicles on the road. And if that would be technically, it is again possible. So if that would be a bilateral energy give and take to the grid, yeah. So this is $50 billion, the energy loss only. So on one side, on the other side, if you are remembering the ecosystem we are building up with the bonuses and miles and tokens and whatever which has digital asset, energy is a digital asset. Our dream is to have one day, your mobile portable energy set, and you go, I don't know, to Germany and have your rented car, and you plop, have your energy transferred there, which is in your account. Is this something nice for the user? Is this technically possible? Absolutely, right? So and we need this seamless end-to-end thinking of it, and so we are working on it. It needs also, of course, the smart grid infrastructure.
Allow me also to add one point that I think is pretty interesting, because you mentioned Sairo, no? And when we talk about batteries, of course, the automotive sector is definitely important. However, especially in Europe, there is a need to develop capacity in terms of battery that is absolutely huge. And consider that by 2030, the capacity needed in EU, as per today, is covered by 70%. And if you consider that this 70% is just based on claims, so companies that are claiming that they will build a facility that create batteries, means that most probably the gap is going to be even more, 50 or 60%. So the market, especially for Syro, is not going to be just the automotive, but eventually also how you are penetrating a market which in Europe will miss a lot of supply. So there is a lot of work to be done in terms of developing new markets in the end.
Limited with imagination.
Exactly. Any other question? I think it's the last one because maybe for the sake of time. Yeah, it's coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gürcan. We are Climate and Voice of Climate Change Directory, and I'm so glad to see you. First, you said youth engagement, not exactly youth engagement you said, but youth engagement is so advantage for the future. Do you think that hiring young people on in your company will be effective and will be advantage for talk and more than talk maybe?
Definitely. Look, if I'm abroad and somebody asks me what is the real strength of Turkey, I do say it's the youth, it's the young population. If you look to the numbers, we are in average more than 10 years younger than every Western European country. So, and the drive for innovation is simply that you are not bored with paradigms you already had the last 20 years. Yeah? So I'm myself, honestly, having my own difficulties sometimes if I'm talking to the young chaps, and this drive is needed. Right now, if you look to our journey as talk, we needed the experience of those colleagues who have been in the aviation industry, who have been in the automotive industry, who have been in the telecommunications, who have been in all the new energy vehicle companies with the experiences, because our one single challenge in the first 5 years was running against time. We don't have the time to repeat something. We don't have a time to iterate something. Therefore, we needed the knowledge. So, and that knowledge was supported with also external companies. So globally, the number ones or the number twos. Honestly, we didn't go even to the number threes because of the same reason, we don't have time to reiterate. So we were working with all the best in the entire world. So now this, what you have seen, 10.5 years of seniority, this is coming down from 15. So, and probably in 2 years' time, it will go down to 5 years. And you are perfectly right. In the team, especially our mobility ecosystem team, is much younger, because these are the ones building around the ecosystem, building around the smart device, the startups, the collaboration with the startups, the business revenue streams with the startups, the business models with the startups, and this is always good to have from the young generation and young brains.
I ask because young generations tend to catch new innovations for the future and for now. Some, how can I say, experienced people in the companies cannot catch the, how can I say, new innovations because of their jobs. That's why I asked. Thank you for the answer.
No, this is since we have 2 minutes, may I?
Please.
So because there is one thing I would like to share with the young people, and this is how to prevent that what you are saying is happening. So we are hiring to our company, besides all those CV and experience, skills and whatsoever. We are looking for 4 personality traits, 4. The very first one is we are looking to all the people. Doesn't matter if they are 15 years experienced or 20 years experienced. Is that person the everlasting student? Is he willing to learn? Is he willing to change? Is he willing to embrace every new ideation? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, in our world, there is nothing normal anymore. It's a VUCA world. It's volatile, uncertain. You cannot plan. It's a nightmare if you are a person like you go to the airport 3 hours ago before your flight is departure. Yeah? So in our world, every 6 months somebody may come up and disrupt your business. So therefore, this yes, deviation from the plan, but managing the deviation is something what we call emotional stability, emotional power. So we need people who are having this, managing this ups and downs, intrinsically motivated, and not giving up if something bad is happening or if something different than planned is happening. So we call this is the second one, emotional power, okay? So the third thing is what we call intellectual capacity. The intellectual capacity is, especially at the beginning, you had 15, 20 years experienced people. Honestly, they have been somewhere like big general managers in a company, managing directors, assistant general managers, and senior directors, whatsoever. So they were all used to work with hundreds of people. And they came, they didn't have a staff. So means seeing the big picture is nice. If you are not able to cascade it down, if you are not putting your hands dirty to make the first executions, this is not good for Turk. And therefore, we were looking for those people. And those people, we have realized on the journey, two kinds of them. The first one was, hey, I'm 15 years, I was general manager, I was the director, so I know how to do. Give me people, I tell them how to do. I said, oh, thank you. You are not the one. So on the other side, there are people, they want to do it, but they forgot because since 15 years, they are on a completely different level. Yeah? So, and therefore, it's one of the most crucial things for us, one of the most crucial things to sort it out in our team, not to have these people. And the fourth thing is about the people's attitudes, if they are in their interpersonal approach positive, integrative or not. So means is the glass half full or half empty? If you have more people who see the glass half empty, they always find a problem for the solution. If you have the other way around, they always find a solution for every problem. So, and just imagine from different industries, different personalities, different experiences, more than 10 years, 50 years experiences, if they come up with those four personalities, the risk facing those kind of people, as you mentioned, is less, and that was what we were taking care of. Thank you.
Allow me to say something that came up from what you said. Here, definitely the topic is climate change. So we are talking about decarbonization and all these kind of things. But what Gurjan Bey just described is something extremely important in terms of ESG. Because we always talk about environment, but social and governance are important as well. And what you describe is one of the best approach in the social part for what concerns HR and talent delivery, which are two important focus areas. So actually, it seems that you have a 360-degree expertise not only on decarbonization but on the wider ESG scope, which is the point you were mentioning about talent. Gurjan, thank you very much. And I don't know if you want to add something for the closing.
All good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Pleasure
Thank you very
to be
much.
here.